Good afternoon. Welcome to RSBN Live. I'm Robert McNeely as we are awaiting President Trump and Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth to make a special announcement live from the Oval Office. This might be in regards to that great, big, beautiful Golden Dome, a high priority for the president, as he's had quite a busy day welcoming sons and daughters to the White House, whether it be the in-town press, the staff as well. And an adorable video, in case you missed it, we'll be replaying later in the broadcast. Some of those young students and children actually asking the questions of Caroline Leavitt, our great White House press secretary, about President Trump and his day-to-day business in and around Washington. We also know this morning that the president met with leadership of the Republican conference and spoke to reporters on a couple of occasions, just really speaking glowingly of House Speaker Mike Johnson, saying he's a man of God, a man of prayer, and someone who could, unlike the president himself, which is a high compliment, take care of that one vote or those two votes, that slim majority of leadership there in the House, and speaking highly as well of Senate Majority Leader John Thune. So Congress united, the Republican conference united, President Trump saying that, look at this party, it's expanded, with the UAW and labor union leaders also in the Republican camp for the big, beautiful bill, and why this will benefit the American middle class. Congressional Republicans must unite on this to pass President Trump's one big, beautiful bill to take advantage of the once-in-a-generation opportunity they were given by voters. Here are 20 reasons why Congress must unite behind the one big, beautiful bill. Number one, it delivers the largest tax cut in American history. This means the extra $5,000 in Americans' pockets with a double-digit percentage decrease in their tax bills. Americans earning between $30,000 and $80,000 will pay around 15% less in taxes. This also includes no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. This makes good on two of President Trump's promises of the Cornerstone campaign, which was just last year, benefiting hardworking Americans where they need it the most, their paychecks. It delivers big, big, beautiful deportations. The bill permanently secures our borders by making the largest border security investment in history, funding at least 1 million annual removals of illegal immigrants and ramping up mass deportation operations to a level never before seen in American history. It finishes President Trump's border wall, and as a result of this, 701 miles of primary wall, 900 miles of river barriers, and 629 miles of secondary barriers, and 141 miles of vehicles and pedestrian barriers will be constructed. This stops deadly fentanyl from flowing into our communities and securing the border from dangerous illegal aliens, murderers, and rapists. It also boosts Border Patrol and ICE agents on the front line. It will carry out their mission by hiring 10,000 new ICE personnel, 5,000 new customs officers, and 3,000 new Border Patrol agents, and gives $10,000 in bonuses each year of the next 4 years to agents right there on the front line. So pay them more for the very dangerous job they do to secure our country. This also protects Medicaid for Americans by kicking 1.4 million illegals off of the benefits. This bill eliminates waste, fraud, and abuse by ending benefit for at least 1.4 million illegal aliens who are garnering their systems right now. So this was big when President Trump was asked this during his meetings today, or just outside of the hall while on Capitol Hill. And some in the press were saying, aren't these Medicaid cuts, Medicare cuts? He said, no, we're getting rid of the waste, fraud, and abuse. This will not touch those legal and eligible citizens for their benefits. This is actually streamlining and saving the American people money in the long run, and those much needed benefits coming back to them as these systems were once originally instituted. And we know this from even yesterday at the Kennedy Center Awards dinner. Rick Grinnell speaking on this, who's a board member. There's been $26 million in fraud, waste, and abuse found at the Kennedy Center. So think about this. Those donations you give for nonprofits, for the arts, and thinking that it's going to benefit the arts in America, and it goes to waste, fraud, and abuse. But thank God for Doge. Thank God for Elon Musk finding all of that. And Rick Grinnell talking about that just yesterday. This big, beautiful bill requires able-bodied Americans to work if they are to receive benefits. With 4.8 million able-bodied adults choosing not to work, the one big, beautiful bill puts work requirements in place and supports them as they find dignity through employment. It also reverses the spending plague in Washington, D.C. This legislation delivers the largest deficit reduction in nearly 30 years, with $1.6 trillion in mandatory savings. This also ends taxpayer-funded sex change for minors, something egregious, something disgusting, something against human biology and the dignity of the person. It reverses the Biden-era mandate that Medicaid cover so-called gender transition surgery and procedures for minor Americans, ending the taxpayer-funded chemical castration and mutilation of American children. This also provides historic tax relief to Social Security recipients and slashes taxes on Social Security benefits. So we'll play back now the video, something a little bit more lighthearted. This is great stuff, great news, but also serious business. Everything happening in the Republican conference on Capitol Hill, and cover the other 10 promises that are enhanced in this bill. But here is now a video, a playback with Caroline Leavitt, our White House press secretary, with those sons and daughters enjoying their day at the White House in the James S. Brady briefing room. We'll take that there now.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. Hi, everybody. Hi, guys. Good afternoon, everyone. It is such a pleasure to see so many beautiful faces in this room and so many future leaders. Hi, Eloise. You look so cute back there. I'm so excited to host this briefing today in honor of National Bring Your Kids to Work Day, and it's great to see so many future leaders here. Welcome to the James S. Brady Briefing Room. My name is Caroline Leavitt, and I am the White House Press Secretary for President Donald J. Trump. He is the 45th and now the 47th President of the United States. My job at the White House is to communicate the President's message to the American people and to answer questions from journalists who work in this building every day, many of whom are your moms and your dads. Now, they ask me some pretty good questions, but I'm sure you will all have excellent questions to ask me yourselves. So before we open it up to questions today, I will give you a very short update on what the President is working on today. Earlier this morning, President Trump traveled to Capitol Hill to meet with members of the House of Representatives to talk about the one big, beautiful bill that we are trying to pass through Congress. The President is now back at the White House, where he is taking meetings, and later this afternoon he will be making an announcement from the Oval Office with our Secretary of Defense. He's in charge of our military, Pete Hegseth. So I want to thank all of you for coming today. It's great to have you here at the People's House, and you have some very special parents who perform a very special job. And we are here to make America great again, and we live in the history of the world, and we are all very blessed to be here. So with that, thank you. I am happy to take some of your questions. And why don't you start us off, beautiful little girl? Go ahead.
What's your question for Mr. Trump?
She's thinking very hard about it.
You can ask it. You can ask it. She wants to know if Donald Trump likes to give hugs.
Oh, does he like to give hugs? You know, I think he does. I have seen him give many hugs to children and his family and our beautiful First Lady. So yes, I do think he likes to give hugs. You're welcome. Emily, would you like to ask a question?
Yes. What is the funnest part about your job and the hardest part about your job?
Wow. Well, that is definitely a very good question. I think the most fun part about my job is doing things like this with all of you in the briefing room and answering so many great questions. I think the hardest part of my job is also doing things like this in the briefing room and answering all of these questions. And reading the news is a big part of my job every day. I wake up and read the newspaper and watch the news and listen to all of the things that your parents are reporting on in the news. And that's a big part of my job every day. Frankie, go ahead. What is President Trump's favorite food? Well, President Trump loves a lot of different foods, but I think his favorite is probably steak. I've had steak with him on many occasions, and he likes to eat a big, beautiful steak. Do you like steak, Frankie? Yes? Okay. Jack, nice to see you. I like your hat. You're welcome. Would you like to ask a question?
What's the state of the border?
What's the state of the border? I can assure you the border is the most secure it has ever been in the history of our country. And I think your dad works for the Homeland Security Council, so that's a very apropos question. And your dad's doing a great job securing the border. Hazel Jane, what a beautiful name. Ask a question? Okay.
Actually, can you come back to me?
Sure, I can come back to you. I'd be happy to. Bobby Lynn?
How many people has he fired?
How many people has he fired? Thus far, actually, we have not had anyone fired with the exception of one individual who did leave their job. But we have a great team here so far. So good. Thank you for the question. Yes, little man. Is that your mommy? Your mommy is a great journalist. What's your question?
What's Donald Trump's favorite ice cream? He wants to know.
Ooh. I have seen the president eat ice cream sundaes before with chocolate sauce and some toppings too. Raise your hand if you like ice cream sundaes. It's a very popular policy position to have. Yes, very good. Dario, would you like to go?
What is the president? If the president had a superpower, what would it be?
Wow. If the president could have a superpower, what would it be? That is a very good question. I think if he had a superpower, it would be to just snap his fingers and solve all of our country's problems just like that, because he likes to get things done very quickly, but sometimes it takes longer. Like today, he had to go to Capitol Hill to convince people to vote for his one big beautiful bill. I bet if he had a superpower, he would snap his fingers and get it passed immediately, but life doesn't work that way, unfortunately. Go ahead, buddy.
What is Donald Trump's favorite soccer player?
Favorite soccer player? You know, I don't know the answer to that. It's a very good question. I will check in with the president and get back to you. How's that sound? But I know he likes soccer and he likes all sports. Go ahead.
Probably the country like each week.
Does he leave the country each week? No, he doesn't. We left the country last week and we went on a long trip to the Middle East. Very far away, but we have some plans to leave the country later this year, but most weeks he's right here at the White House working very hard. Nora, go ahead.
Which is Donald Trump's favorite president besides himself?
It's a good question, because it would be probably himself. No, I think that perhaps he would say George Washington. I know he speaks very highly of George Washington, who was, of course, the first president of our great country, and he has his big, beautiful portrait hanging in the Oval Office above the fireplace. Good question. Go ahead. You look very professional and beautiful.
Thank you so much. What's it like? For you? I have a question for you. What is it like balancing a baby and your job as the press secretary as your age?
Sure. It's a very good question, and my baby is here with my mother. As you can see, he does not know what's going on. But it is a challenge every day, but it's also a blessing to have this opportunity and to be a mom. So you have to learn to prioritize your time and lean on your support system, which is my mother and my husband and my family and friends. And you can do it. You just have to work very hard. Yes.
Hi, my name is Marceli Victoria. My mom is Soriana Barris.
Oh, nice to meet you.
My question is, as press secretary, as the youngest press secretary, what advice would you give to young girls like me who want to achieve their dreams?
It's a great question, and you're so beautiful. My best advice would be to work as hard as you possibly can and just pursue every opportunity that opens up and is given to you, and just work as hard as you can.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Behind you. Yeah.
What is Donald Trump going to do about climate change?
What is Donald Trump going to do about climate change? That is a very good question. The president cares very much about our environment. He says all the time he wants to have the cleanest air, the cleanest water, the cleanest environment for the world. He also cares very much about our energy independence and ensuring that we can keep the lights on in our homes at a very cheap rate. So we want to make energy here in the United States because we do it cleaner and better than everyone. So I think that's how the president would answer that question. You're welcome. Go ahead.
What is your favorite country that you've been to before?
What is my favorite country I've been to before? Oh, wow. That's a very good question. Well, I've been to many countries. I lived in Italy for a few months to study, but I very much enjoyed our trip last week to the Middle East, where the president went to Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates, and they were 3 beautiful countries. We'll take a couple more questions. To the back, that beautiful high hand. Go ahead.
What pets did Donald Trump have when he grew up and also right now?
What was that, buddy?
What pets did Donald Trump have when he grew up and also right now?
Well, he doesn't have any pets right now. I don't know if he had any pets when he was growing up. I'll have to check with him and ask, but there's no pets at the White House right now, except for our great canine Secret Service dog friends that are here to protect us. Hazel Jan, did you remember your question?
Yeah.
Okay, let's hear it.
What's the president's religion?
What's the president's religion? The president is a Christian, and he believes in Jesus. Yes? In the back?
What did the president do today?
What did the president do today? The president was very busy today. He went to Capitol Hill earlier today, and then he's here back at the White House, and he's doing meetings, and then he's going to do a big announcement at 3 o'clock where all of your moms and dads will be able to ask him questions directly. Go ahead, buddy. What was that, buddy? How much candy does he eat a day? A good amount. A good amount of candy, yes. He likes pink Starburst and Tootsie Rolls. Yes, buddy, go ahead. We'll take 2 more.
What's the president's favorite order at McDonald's?
President's favorite order at McDonald's. He loves McDonald's hamburgers and French fries. Who doesn't? They're good. In the back. Go ahead, bud.
Your least favorite news outlet?
My least favorite what?
News outlet.
I can tell you're a staff kid, not a journalist kid. Did someone say ABC? Honestly, it depends on the day. Go ahead, honey. Favorite room in the White House? I think his favorite room in the White House is definitely the Oval Office because it's so beautiful and he has decked it out in gold. It's now MAGA gold in there. Yes, go ahead. One more.
What's his favorite child?
That is a very controversial question, and I am not going to answer it. I know he loves all of his children very much, and they're all great kids. Some of them were here yesterday. We'll do one more to the little girl in the back behind you. Yes.
Who's your favorite president?
Who's my favorite president? Well, that's a good question to answer. Donald Trump. Thank you guys so very much. It's good to see all of you. Thank you for coming. We'll see you later.
And there's your daily dose of adorable. The future White House press corps, those of the press corps right now, those in-pool reporters, their sons and daughters there to spend time with Caroline Levitt and her baby there as well. A special moment and something to really think about. Whatever it is that we do, whatever our vocations, our day-to-day duties, it's all about the next generation of this great country, Generation Alpha, that we are responsible for. And although I don't have kids, there's young ones in my family, and it is an absolute joy to teach them about the greatness of this country, nearly 250 years young, and a golden era for them to inherit not so far ahead in the future. That's why we must fight, 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 and win, win, win. And I got to tell you, it makes my blood boil to think about the Otto Penn administration losing over 300,000 children that came illegally over our border. And Secretary Kennedy has spoken about it, that there were people in HHS who might have been responsible for that trafficking in the last administration. So buckle up, get ready for justice to be served, because this is truly an administration that is seeking to set things right with subject matter experts who work day in and day out to fight for our youngest Americans, those of us who are in the middle of our careers, and those senior citizens now enjoying the fruits of their labor and their legacy and their children and grandchildren. As we break down this big, beautiful bill, right before President Trump will be making a special announcement with Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, so stay tuned for that at the top of the hour. Number 11 in this big, beautiful bill, it will give Americans permanent tax relief through the Trump tax cuts. If the bill does not pass, Americans will see the largest tax increase in history. It also finally modernizes air traffic control, fulfilling President Trump's plan to completely overhaul the systems that keep Americans flying safely and efficiently. We're happy to cover everything here on the right side of history. Thank you to our sponsors, angelpaste.com. Experience the miracle today, whether that's the original Miracle Cream Paste, vitamin B infused, non-GMO, no chemicals. They also have the Orange Immunity option that's full of vitamin C, a great way to boost just your care throughout the year. Also, the natural mosquito repellent and a facial spray for guys and gals, based out of Spring, Texas, in the Lone Star State just off of the Gulf of America. This is a Christian-based company committed to you and American veterans. They like to hire veterans. So if you're looking for a job out there, you're just getting out of the military, angelpaste.com, a great opportunity. But if you're looking for a great opportunity to keep your skin glowing without all those nasty chemicals, experience that miracle today, angelpaste.com. Thank you for your sponsorship of RSBN Live. And Secretary Sean Duffy spoke on this about the safety and efficiency of what's needed to scale back what took place during Otto Penn and Pete Buttigieg, who was a DEI hire at the FAA with air traffic control, and as Department of Transportation Secretary, how awful it was under his tenure. Now, this also ends the taxpayer-funded Green New scam that's been pushed on all of us. The legislation repeals or phases out every green corporate welfare subsidy in Democrats' so-called Inflation Reduction Act. This immediately stops credits from flowing to China and saves taxpayers $500+ billion every single year. This also reverses electric vehicle mandates that let radical climate activists set the standards for American energy. It also incentivizes Made in America. It rewards companies that build their products in America with lower taxes and allows Americans who buy an American-made vehicle to fully deduct their auto loan interest. I just think about companies like Solyndra during the Obama years, and it was fake green energy. It was filled with subsidies, riddled with corruption and waste, fraud, and abuse. No longer will America have to deal with that nonsense. This bill is also pro-family. The one big, beautiful bill increases the child tax credit, establishes MAGA accounts for newborns to start saving, and strengthening paid family leave. This also repeals Democrats' insane attack on the gig economy. It repeals the requirement that Venmo, PayPal, and other gig transactions over $600 be reported to the IRS. I mean, that alone, it should be voted on this for that reason, because why are they busy spying on your own transactions? That's your business, not the government's business. It also protects family farmers. The bill prevents the greedy death tax from hitting 2 million family-owned farms who would otherwise see their exemptions cut in half, and cuts taxes on farmers by over $10 billion. It's a once-in-a-generation chance to revolutionize our nation's defense capabilities and protect the homeland against new threats. It funds President Trump's Golden Dome, which invests in American shipbuilding and modernizes our military. Even governors like Gretchen Whitmer in the Wolverine state of Michigan are for this and spoke glowingly about this when President Trump was in Warren, Michigan a couple of weeks ago, not only seeing the troops, but there for that 100-day rally, which we were a part of in Macomb Community College, a beautiful time up north. Number 19, this also unleashes American energy dominance. The legislation increases onshore and offshore oil and gas leases, which provides certainty for energy producers, spurs job growth, and makes energy more affordable for the American consumer. And finally, it boosts American mineral development. This bill increases mining of domestic minerals and makes America less dependent on foreign adversaries for critical minerals. Also, in addition to the Saudi Arabians agreeing to $600 billion of wealth they're putting into America, whether it be AI, technologies, those specialized minerals, as well as military production with their defense capabilities. Also, minerals that are owed to us by the Ukraine for all of the defense we've given them in the last 3.5 years with this terrible war that, yes, Vladimir Putin did start, that it should not have happened, but regardless, peace through strength, that's the mission, and hopefully we get to a resolution there, as it's been discussed not only in Saudi Arabia, but recently in Turkey. So we'll keep you updated on all of that. As President Trump has been busy, there's been nonstop with everything he's sought to accomplish in the last few days. And one of those things being the Take It Down Act. If you did not see this yesterday, we have some playback highlighting this much-needed legislation led by Senator Ted Cruz, and even bipartisan in nature, Senator Amy Klobuchar of Minnesota joining the Texas Tiger himself, Ted Cruz, to help get this across the finish line in Congress and to protect Americans online, especially those minors who are exploited with these non-consensual images and videos, which quite frankly, it's disgusting. You might have heard about this revenge porn and these things that have been shared online against people's consent. It should not happen. And now people have legal ramifications where they can sue those who would seek to cause harm. So we have that video from the Rose Garden yesterday.
Sign it in. Come on, sign it anyway. She deserves to sign it. Okay, there we have it. There we are. That's a big one.
And as we await President Trump and Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth to make a major announcement in moments, we also have playback from Qatar. Just last week, where President Trump met with the troops and gave a rousing rally for those in uniform, honoring the people who make those sacrifices every single day. And we have video playback of that for you now.
The real strength of our military doesn't come from its fighter jets. It really comes from our people. That's you. Comes from our people. You're unbelievable people. Just incredible. You're incredible. You're a very special group of people. So you do your duty for us, and as Commander-in-Chief, I will always do and fulfill my duty to you. That's what I'm doing.
We always thank our military for the exceptional sacrifices they make on a regular basis. And Mr. Director, that sponsorship one more time. And we'd like to thank Tax Network USA. They are an outstanding group of people. TNUSA.com/RSBN. You can settle those back taxes today. Protect yourself from the IRS. Call today. Do not delay. 800 357-1415, whether it was the recent taxes from April 15th of this year or further taxes. Sometimes you get those surprise when I've had in the past with a diverse career where, oh my gosh, that got taxed for that project or this or that from years ago, and somehow it gets all confusing. Well, the Patriot experts here can protect you from all of that nonsense. Protect yourself from the IRS. Settle your back taxes now. Visit tnusa.com/RSBN or call 800-357-1415. Tax Network USA, thank you for your sponsorship. Always good to have Patriot experts on your side to handle a bloated bureaucracy. And that's fortunately coming to an end with President Trump's leadership, but we're still reeling from 4 years of the auto pen and the ridiculous nonsense that took place during that period of time. And we wish the former president well with his diagnosis. But again, to echo the words of President Trump, Vice President Vance on his way back on Air Force Two after meeting with Pope Leo XIV for the inaugural Mass in Rome, Italy at the Vatican, Vice President Vance said this is the problem, the non-transparency happening over the course of the last 4 years. This kind of cancer was something that was built up, I'm sure, from the physicals. His doctors knew about it. So we have to be concerned about is who are these people hiding this critical information, this crucial information from the American voter over the course of the last 4 years? Who is the auto pen? It's perhaps the greatest scandal in American history. If people have a problem with Watergate, which was bad, what took place over the course of Obama and Biden, much, much, much worse. And this now is the transparency in chief. The commander-in-chief, number 47, focused on talking to the press nearly every moment of every day, whenever he can. I mean, a press conference today at Capitol Hill, to those in the Oval Office, when he's swearing people in, he will always answer those questions. In fact, yesterday, with the new Medal of Sacrifice presented by none other than that wonderful company, Tiffany's, Eric and Laura Trump on hand, with many other family members of fallen service members in the line of duty, President Trump was also willing to answer questions on a whole host of topics right there live in the Oval Office. He never backs down. He wants to share what he's working on, what his administration is working on a daily and hourly basis. It's been told to me in private by those colleagues in the media. They actually prefer having President Trump in office because it helps make their job a little bit easier to talk through things, to talk about a number of different topics, to focus on what's truly affecting you, the American people. Whereas, look back to the last administration, hundreds of days, or the Easter egg roll. Do you remember when the Easter Bunny stopped President Biden from talking to those in the media, one of his press staff? It's egregious to think about that we had someone with such cognitive decline serving right there where you could see your house, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. And Speaker Mike Johnson perhaps put it best when he first met with the former president in late 2023 when he became Speaker of the House and said, "Sir, you authorized a number of these different things that are harming the American people in regards to energy and the stopping of the Keystone Pipeline and helping out Nord Stream across the pond over in Russia and Germany, really helping the globalists, but not helping the American people and the working class here with our oil and energy sector." But President Biden said to then Speaker Johnson, and now Speaker Johnson, "Hey, Mike, I did not do that." And he said, "Sir, I can go talk to your secretary. We could pull up the files right now." And Mike Johnson said that it was one of the most strange moments in his life, especially in public service, to be arguing about something that clearly did take place, but the individual there was not at home. And again, we wish the former president well, but as President Trump put it on Air Force One, the Bidens have caused so much pain for countless Americans and countless people, whether it be in government, outside in private life. Think about Laptop Hunter and what he's done. I mean, have the Bidens actually met their one grandchild who Hunter fathered? Has Hunter ever met his child? It's just really sad to think about. But then you have a family like the Trumps that have stood together in good times, in bad, in difficult moments, and now as private citizens coming down a golden escalator with a history of business acumen and leading city skylines, whether it be in New York, Chicago, to around the world, including the Middle East, have brought prosperity to countless people with their businesses. And they have been through countless investigations, fake impeachments, assassination attempts, all to continue to stand strong and to remind us that we need God, we need religion, we need freedom of thought, we need constitutional governance in this country. Most people would break down, but as White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt put it, with that press conference with the young ones today, her favorite president is President Trump, and that's because he's a man on a mission, a man for such a time as this, and someone willing to put it all on the line in order to make America great again. And speaking of those who do that on a daily basis, President Trump having a new medal, the Medal of Sacrifice. And in case you missed it from yesterday, President Trump sharing in that award ceremony with some wonderful recipients, the family members of those who were lost in the line of duty. We have that playback for you now.
And we award the first ever Medals of Sacrifice to 3 heroic law enforcement officers from Palm Beach County, Florida. I went to the service. It was crazy. It was just horrible. Earlier today, Congressman Brian Mast, who's right here, introduced a bill to ensure this new medal will be awarded to any law enforcement officer or first responder who gives his or her life in the line of duty.
And a beautiful ceremony, of course. Congressman Byron Donalds there, candidate for Florida governor. Brian Mast as well, another congressman from Florida. So many of those all-stars from the Sunshine State, and truly not only the future of the Republican Party, but also the future of good, solid, sound, conservative, populist governance. That's why so many people have moved there. A beautiful destination and not too far from our location of Auburn, Alabama. So always nice to see our border state friends in Florida working hard for common sense principles that you don't necessarily find everywhere else in the United States. As we await President Trump and Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth to make an announcement regarding national security. Perhaps it's that big golden dome. Perhaps it's these investments made by Middle East countries, the Gulf states, pouring trillions of dollars into the United States. We know that Secretary Hegseth was right there by the side of the president throughout those meetings with Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates. But really the highlight of this week thus far, President Trump signing the Take It Down Act into law. I'd like to share with you some of the quotes from those who were crucial in the signing of this critical bill, received bipartisan praise on Capitol Hill and beyond. And I'd like to thank our First Lady, Melania Trump, who really led the way on this with her office and, in fact, signed right below her husband's signature to keep that all together and show you her commitment to that. And let's take some of her comments from yesterday as well during that Rose Garden signing.
As First Lady, my Be Best initiative is focused on improving children's well-being, encouraging kindness, and creating a safer online environment for our youth. Today, I'm proud to say that the values of Be Best will be reflected in the law of the land. I want to thank my husband, President Trump, for standing with us on this effort. His signature on this new law is not where our work ends on this issue. Now we look to the Federal Trade Commission and the private sector to do their part. Today, through the Take It Down Act, we affirm that the well-being of our children is central to our future of our families and America. Good afternoon and welcome to the White House. It's an honor to join you here today for the signing of the Take It Down Act, a national victory that will help parents and families protect children from online exploitation. This legislation is a powerful step forward in our efforts to ensure that every American, especially young people, can feel better protected from their image or identity being abused through non-consensual or intimate imagery of I and CII. Artificial intelligence and social media are the digital candy for the next generation. Sweet, addictive, and engineered to have an impact on the cognitive development of our children. But unlike sugar, these new technologies can be weaponized, shape beliefs, and sadly affect emotions and even be deadly. Over the past few months, I have met with brave survivors, deeply loving families, and caring advocates who know firsthand the emotional and psychological toll of NCII and deepfake abuse. Alliston Berry stood boldly for change, despite the risk posed to her and her family by speaking out and making her voice heard. Alliston, your voice and the voices of so many like you made this bill a national priority.
An amazing achievement in protecting America's youth and those who might be compromised online, something that should never happen. As we look very soon, President Trump and Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth making a major announcement with our military in the Oval Office. So stay tuned for that on this live stream. Senator Ted Cruz said the Take It Down Act is a historic win for victims of revenge porn and deep take image abuse. Predators who weaponize new technology to post the exploitative filth will now rightfully face criminal consequences, and big tech will no longer be allowed to turn a blind eye to the spread of this vile material. This day stands as a powerful testament to the bravery and dedication of Alliston Berry, Francesca Mani, Breeze Liu, and Brandon Guffey, whose relentless advocacy made this law possible. I am deeply grateful to my legislative partners, particularly Senator Amy Klobuchar and First Lady Melania Trump, for their collaboration in advancing this critical legislation to protect every American's privacy and dignity online. And Senator Amy Klobuchar of Minnesota, big news, my bipartisan Take It Down Act with Senator Ted Cruz was signed into law by President Trump. It protects victims of online abuse and sets some rules of the road for social media and AI. Thank you to the First Lady for her support and to the advocates who made this possible. And thank you to our sponsors who make all of this possible, whether it's breaking down what's happening in your government today, inside and outside of the Beltway, but also taking you to these live announcements, the speeches, also to these critical hearings that affect you, the American people. Kalshi.com/RSBN. Right under my chin there, you can scan that QR code now and bet and trade on the most critical issues facing the United States and our friends abroad. We recently had who is going to be the next Canadian Prime Minister. Of course, that's Mr. Mark Carney, who has an extraordinarily great relationship with President Trump as we work to cooperate on trade agreements and international security, trade on the most important events and the most critical questions like, will egg prices continue to go down? Will they temporarily go up? Who's going to win the World Series again? Will those Dodgers defend their championship? Or will the Pope's team, those Chicago Bears, actually learn how to play football and maybe pass for 4,000 yards in a season? I guess we'll see. But all of that will be at Kalshi.com/RSBN for you. Trade live now, KALSHI.com/RSBN. Kalshi.com, your go-to for all of the biggest events in culture, sports, and politics. Right there for you. Thank you for sponsoring us on the right side of history as we await President Trump and Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth to make a major announcement regarding our military and Pentagon policy. Representative Maria Elvira Salazar speaking on the Take It Down Act just yesterday. Before this law, victims were ignored, schools could not act, police had no tools, and big tech looked away. With the Take It Down Act, that changes. The platforms must respond and predators will face justice. Now, victims have the power and the law is behind them. Thanks be to God for that. Ex-CEO Linda Yaccarino said, honored to be at the White House today for POTUS's signature. The Take It Down Act, grateful to FLOTUS and her dedication for ensuring safety, and X will continue to work alongside Senator Ted Cruz, Marsha Blackburn, Representative Nancy Mace, and the NCMEC to do everything possible to make the internet safer, especially for children. South Carolina Attorney General Alan Wilson said no one should have to live in fear of their most private moments being weaponized against them. Revenge porn is a cruel and deeply violating crime, and for too long now, the law has lagged behind the technology. Today, with President Trump's leadership, we're now bringing that fight to the national stage by standing up for survivors, holding predators accountable, and making it absolutely clear digital abuse is real abuse and it will be met with real consequences. And the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children today, the NCMEC CEO Michelle Delane and NCMEC's Chief Legal Officer Yoda Suras attended the Take It Down Act bill signing ceremony at the White House. We're grateful for POTUS and FLOTUS prioritizing this critical legislation and shining a light on child exploitation. This groundbreaking new law closes a dangerous gap by targeting the distribution of both real and digitally altered exploitative content involving children. That content is a dangerous thing for those who fall outside existing CSAM definitions and requires social media platforms to take this imagery down. As the congressionally designated National Clearinghouse on Missing and Exploited Children issues, we will continue to work with Congress and the administration to identify evolving threats in child sexual exploitation and look forward to continuing our work together to protect children online. And thank you for all your work there. The National Organization for Women President Christian F. Nunez announcing that yesterday President Trump's signing of the bill, the Take It Down Act, the first bipartisan legislation that zeroes in on one of the most pernicious threats to women's health and safety, the theft of our bodily autonomy through deepfake images used to harass and exploit women and girls. Today, signing shows how much can be done when we get out of the silos that separate us from issue to issue and work together on the values we have in common goals that do unite us as Americans, despite those differences. When it comes to protecting women and girls from online abuse, this work is just beginning. Senator Marsha Blackburn of Tennessee, I am pleased to be at the White House to witness the signing of the Take It Down Act, which will criminalize the distribution of non-consensual intimate imagery. I will be working to get the Kids Online Safety Act to President Trump's desk next to hold big tech accountable for failing to protect innocent children from online harms. And Senator Shelley Moore Capito of West Virginia, I am proud to be an original co-sponsor of the Take It Down Act. This important legislation will protect victims of the digital exploitation by making non-consensual explicit images shared online against the law. Thank you to FLOTUS for your work on the issue and POTUS signing it into law just yesterday. And Senator John Cornyn of Texas, I was honored to join POTUS and FLOTUS at the White House today for the signing of the Take It Down Act. This bill will help punish predators and protect kids from exploitation by requiring online platforms to remove explicit images, including AI-generated deepfakes, within 48 hours. Happy to see this common sense bill signed into law. Senator Catherine Cortez Masto of New Mexico, I'm glad President Trump signed our bipartisan Take It Down Act today. We've seen how technology can deliver incredible innovations, but there have been no guardrails to keep people safe at times. So that's why I supported this bill to protect the power and empower victims of real and deep fake revenge porn. Senator Roger Wicker, the United States must lead in AI innovation and accountability. Today, President Trump signed the Take It Down Act, and this new law protects people from AI deepfakes, which often target families and children. Senator Todd Young of Indiana, glad to see POTUS sign our Take It Down Act into law today to protect victims, especially young women and children, from harmful deepfakes. Also, House Majority Whip Tom Emmer, glad to see at POTUS sign the Take It Down Act into law. Deepfake sexual exploitation has sadly become more common with technological advancements. Thankfully, this law will hold perpetrators accountable and protect the victims of those depraved crimes. Also, Lisa McClain, the House Republican Conference Chair, speaking highly of this, saying that I look forward to continuing the support. This administration and the First Lady's efforts to hold those who create harmful content accountable, ensuring the platforms take responsibility and keep our children safe in the digital age. And countless other congressmen, including Debbie Dingell, a Democrat from Michigan. The Take It Down Act is now law. This is a huge win for women and children across the country. Grateful for my partners in the House and Senate who helped get this bill across the finish line and passed into law. It is an exciting day to see this all happening here just this week, happening yesterday at the Rose Garden, because no one should be exploited online like that, whether a minor or an adult. And sadly, we've seen that. And maybe now these people, these perverts, will think twice about doing that. And this is something that is very much premeditated crime and intends to harm the reputation and the goodness of the individual. And I'm grateful that Republicans and Democrats can come together to protect those who are most vulnerable in this day and age. Representative Kevin Hern saying that I'm honored to be at the White House to witness POTUS signing this into law, the Take It Down Act. Earlier this year, FLOTUS came to the Capitol for a roundtable that I was grateful to be a part of. We heard directly from teenagers whose lives have been destroyed by malicious AI-generated pornographic images shared on social media. This legislation will require social media sites to act as quickly as possible to remove such images from their platforms. The First Lady has been incredible, an advocate for this legislation, helping to garner bipartisan support in both the House and the Senate. Congratulations. Also, Representative Ryan McKenzie, proud to be attending the signing of the Take It Down Act as a Pennsylvania state representative. I helped to lead efforts to remove harmful deepfake images. Now, this law takes the fight nationwide and protects young people throughout our nation from AI-generated online exploitation. And Representative Nancy Mace from South Carolina, we're at the White House at the Take It Down Act, which is being signed into law. Thank you to President Trump. And with the rise of AI and deep fakes, women and children have been left vulnerable for too long. The Take It Down Act finally gives victims that protection needed and makes exploitation a crime, not a loophole. Representative Barry Loudermilk of Georgia today, POTUS signing the Take It Down Act into law. As an AI advances in the culture, so do the risks involved with it in its entirety. This legislation will help children and their families to remove explicit and defamatory images posted online. In the digital age, privacy and security are vital, and this is a major step for the American people. So thank you to all those congressmen, senators, professionals that work hard to protect those who would be exploited online. A major step forward. Thank you to our sponsors here on the right side of history. Brightcore, made in the USA, their premier product, Kimchi One. Gut health, immune support, anti-aging properties. Call today. Do not delay. 888-722-0936. So important to get your day started in a wonderful way. You can also take this in the evening if needed, but get 25% off with code RSBN by visiting mybrightcore.com/RSBN. or call 888-722-0936 to receive an additional 25% off, so that totals 50% off in savings. Again, code RSBN. Visit mybrightcore.com/RSBN. Easy to remember. Brightcore, made in the USA, Kimchi One. It's right around this time of the day where you might get that brain fog, that slower reaction to things. It's been a long day. Well, it all starts in the gut, and Kimchi One is a way to help protect from that happening, to be more present, to get that work done, and really just to spend more quality time with family and friends. Brightcore, made in the USA, thank you for sponsoring us on the right side of history. As we await President Trump and Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth to announce a major step forward with national security defense. This will all be done from the Oval Office at the White House. Department of Homeland Security also thanking the president for continuing to prioritize Americans' children by signing into law the Take It Down Act to protect children from extortion. DHS is at the forefront of fighting predators who try to harm and exploit our children. Make America safe again. And this is something that is part of our national security as a whole. No one as an American citizen especially should have to fear this kind of imagery against their will online. And do you think Kamala Harris would have signed anything like this? Their administration, the failed border czar that she was appointed as under the auto pen, failed to protect over 300,000 innocent children who went missing. And fortunately, the services at hand, whether they be Border Patrol, the ICE agents, or even the Department of Homeland Security, among many others, have helped find these kids. We had an administration for 4 years who put America at risk in so many different ways, and that really was on the forefront of my mind just last week with those great deals signed in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to Qatar, to the United Arab Emirates, with the Majesties hosting the United States delegation, President Trump, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, Secretary of the Treasury Scott Bessent, among countless others, including Howard Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary, in for these meetings that were splendid to watch, actually breaking protocol in a good way. President Trump being greeted by the leaders, the crown princes, the royal courts of these extraordinary nations who are modernizing. If you saw what was there last week, the beautiful palaces, you can see President Trump looking at the ornate gold and the marble saying, wow, these are beautiful. And I think something can hold up to them, and that's that beautiful Mar-a-Lago, the southern White House in the beautiful sunshine-free state of Florida, but a successful trip. But just the thing that was on my mind with all of that, the fact that AutoPen was not in charge. Who was in control of that nuclear football? That thing could have gone off, and it would have been mutually assured destruction for the world. That's why you need someone who knows what he's doing, whose head is squarely on his shoulders, who thinks about these things, who fights for peace, who does that using strength, not just the strength of our military, but the strength of our belief system and the will of the American people, believing in constitutional governance, believing in trading and speaking with all great nations around the world, regardless of the differences that we do have. And that's what President Trump is really, or makes him different from perhaps his living predecessors. He takes the time to listen. He wants to find out how you think on issues, unlike those who were once at the Resolute desk, or another desk if they so chose, and decided to talk down to you because they had ascended to the highest office in the land. And that's what countless people tell me when they meet with the president. That's what you hear from, whether it's comedians to political talk show hosts to those who are in the room where it happens. This man is actually interested in what you have to say. I've experienced it myself. The man who is truly the most powerful person on the planet cares about what you think, cares about your job, your family, what makes you think and operate on a daily basis. And how fortunate are we to have someone like that at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, someone so committed to the future of the United States from sea to shining sea. And if you're just joining us now, it's roughly 3:30 on the East Coast. That makes it 12:30 on the West Coast. Good afternoon. Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network Live. I'm Robert McNeely. Always a joy to be with you as we await President Trump and Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth to make a crucial announcement on national security. Perhaps it's more of the talk of the Golden Dome. We know that's been a high priority for President Trump, something very similar that is used in the Middle East, in the Gulf state region. We know it's used over Israel to protect it from those surprise attacks. And we've seen it in use with Hamas and Hezbollah, who recently launched rockets towards the Jewish capital. And fortunately, it seems as if that conflict is coming to an end. It's been long and drawn out ever since October 7th of 2023, when innocent people from the United States, from Israel, and from around the world were simply enjoying a concert. And Edon Alexander, the recent last American hostage released, thanks be to God, that he is recovering and will soon be with his family in New Jersey. And it's what a tragic thing to happen. And Hamas, Hezbollah, the ISIS caliphate, their days are over. And God willing, the Iranian mullahs will see all of this. They will rethink their radical strategies and their suicidal strategies and want to embrace a newfound Middle East committed to peace and prosperity and freedom. You can still have your belief system, but you're not going to threaten those in the region who simply want to bring about goodwill to their neighbors. And that was probably the most profound in the visits to the mosques, also the Abrahamic house. President Trump went to visit in the UAE, that beautiful church and altar that was in the middle of an Islam majority country. So definite reforms happening throughout the Middle East, and we'll see what Syria does now that the United States has taken sanctions off of that country. Will they choose the route of peace, or will they continue to go down a route of tyranny and brutal rule? But we'll see what happens here as their neighbors and friends, like the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, choosing peace through strength in their own regard. And we are thrilled to see that, as President Trump knows how to get it done with all of his art of the deal and the art of the comeback in real time on a daily basis, whether it's here in the United States or abroad. We'll go to a quick commercial break, but stick with us as we await President Trump and Secretary Hegseth making a crucial announcement on our national security. Stick with us.
You've heard how hard it can be to get access to medications like ivermectin, all the things they don't want you to take because they're actually effective and they don't cost all that much, right? You've seen that one before. So it's critical to have something like that on hand for any emergency and to be prepared in a time of crisis. And that's why I want to tell you about All Family Pharmacy. They're cutting through the nonsense, and they make it easy to get hard-to-find medications when you need them most. They'll provide the prescription, no hoops to jump through, no waiting room, no hassle, and they deliver it right to your door. All Family Pharma even lets you order in bulk so you can stay ahead of the curve. Head over to allfamilypharmacy.com for 10% off your first order. Again, allfamilypharmacy.com. It's simple. Get the 10% savings. Be prepared.
I'm Elmer Heinrich, the 91-year-old formulator of Immuno 150, an incredible nutritional supplement. There's nothing like it. Now, Immuno 150 is different because it contains 70 plant-derived minerals and 80 other nutrients. Dr. Linus Pauling, known for vitamin C, was instrumental in convincing me to get into the mineral business in 1983. He said the world is sick due to a lack of minerals in topsoil. He said the body needs 60 minerals, but the average food and supplement has no more than 12. That's the reason for Immuno 150. Since its inception, it's had a powerful impact on the lives of thousands of people who could not get any help from various supplements they took or their doctor. Now I suggest you try Immuno 150 to see what 70 minerals, CoQ10, and 80 nutrients can do for you. Look at the 2 videos on our website. Millions have. Now consider placing an order for Immuno 150 online or call our toll-free number. I know you'll be glad you did.
Welcome back to RSBN Live. I'm Robert McNeely. We're awaiting President Trump and Secretary Hegseth, who made a statement directing a DoD review of the United States military withdrawal from Afghanistan. To quote Secretary Hegseth, 3.5 years ago, the Biden administration's disastrous and embarrassing withdrawal from Afghanistan led to the deaths of 13 United States service members and 170 civilians in a suicide bombing at the Kabul International Airport's Abbey Gate. President Trump promised accountability for what transpired during that military withdrawal, and I am committed as Secretary of Defense to delivering on that promise. We have the obligation to the American people and to the war fighters who fought in Afghanistan to get the truth out, and we will. Today, I am directing the Assistant to the Secretary of Defense for Public Affairs and Senior Advisor Sean Parnell to convene a special review panel for the department into the United States military withdrawal from Afghanistan. Sean Parnell spent 485 days serving in Afghanistan. Sean was wounded in action along with 85% of his platoon and lost countless friends to the war on terror. It is fitting that he will lead an effort to re-examine previous Abbey Gate investigations conducted by U.S. Central Command during the Biden administration. In addition, Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Scheller, a combat decorated Marine officer who spoke out about the Afghanistan withdrawal, and Jerry Dunleavy, an author, journalist, and investigator who helped lead the House Foreign Affairs Committee's investigation into the Afghanistan withdrawal, will serve on the special review panel. Sean and his team will look at the facts, examine the sources, interview witnesses, analyze the decision-making, and post-mortem the chain of events that led to the cost of America's darkest moments. Sean and his team will provide updates at the appropriate times and keep the American people informed of our findings and any directed actions resulting from our review. That's from the Pentagon, a statement by Secretary Pete Hegseth today. So much more to be investigated from the failed AutoPen administration. Get ready, folks. Get your seatbelts buckled because justice is coming, and some people deserve to be in jail for what they've done to attempt to destroy the country. As President Trump said earlier today at the Capitol, Joe Biden opened up our border, and he had all this transgender nonsense within the military. Enough is enough. Thank God for those MAGA officials, subject matter experts, taking it to the fake news, taking it to the deep state globalists, and reshaping not only our federal city in the District of Columbia, but each and every community in every one of our 50 states and 6 territories. Our nation is back. It's a golden era, and it's an honor to cover it all for you here on the right side of history. We also have more video playback of yesterday, President Trump signing the Take It Down Act into law. This led by FLOTUS and the work of Senator Ted Cruz and Senator Amy Klobuchar, bipartisan legislation to protect minors and adults online from sexual exploitation and deepfake revenge porn, something that's grown in recent years with the advancements of AI and technology, and quite frankly, disgusting premeditated crime. And now the victims have an opportunity to seek legal ramifications and protections so that this doesn't happen to anyone else. So we have playback of that video for you now as we await President Trump and Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth for the announcement.
Sign it in. Come on, sign it anyway. She deserves to sign it. Okay, there we have it. There we are. That's a big one. Today, it's my honor to officially sign the Take It Down Act into law. It's a big thing, very important, so horrible what takes place. This will be the first ever federal law to combat the distribution of explicit, imaginary, posted without subject's consent. They take horrible pictures, and I guess sometimes even make up the pictures, and they post it without consent or anything else. And very importantly, this includes for forgeries generated by artificial intelligence known as deepfakes. We've all heard about deepfakes. I have them all the time, but nobody does anything. I asked Pam, can you help me, Pam? She says, no, I'm too busy doing other things. Don't worry, you'll survive. But a lot of people don't survive. That's true, and so horrible. With the rise of AI image generation, countless women have been harassed with deepfakes and other explicit images distributed against their will. This is the wrong, and it's just so horribly wrong. And it's a very abusive situation, like in some cases people have never seen before. And today we're making it totally illegal.
And the First Lady, of course, joining President Trump, signing that law right under his signature. So a special moment for history to see such a wonderful couple who have been through so much to defend this country over the course of the last decade, and they do it with a smile on their faces. They truly respect one another, and they are perhaps the finest first couple we have seen, especially in recent memory, with the way not only POTUS's office but FLOTUS's offices gets down into the nitty-gritty to be best, to take on these things that otherwise would not be encouraged, to go out there and make a difference in your community. It's a privilege to be able to cover it. And First Lady Melania Trump joining President Trump to sign the Take It Down Act. The First Lady joined the President in the Rose Garden just yesterday for the signing of Senate Bill 146, the Take It Down Act, a historic and bipartisan new law focused on protecting children and families from online extortion and exploitation through the non-consensual distribution of intimate images and deepfake abuse. This bill, a priority of the First Lady's office and the Be Best initiative, passed Congress in the first 100 days of the second Trump administration. And this makes a significant early legislative achievement for all Americans. First Lady Melania Trump said today that the Take It Down Act, we affirm that the well-being of our children is central to the figure of our families and of the United States of America. I am proud to say that the values of Be Best will be reflected by the law of the land. In his remarks, President Trump commended First Lady Melania Trump for her work to pass the Take It Down Act, saying, "I want to thank Melania for your leadership in this very important issue. America is blessed to have such a dedicated and compassionate First Lady." The president ended his remarks by saying, "Working with our First Lady, we've shown that bipartisanship is still possible." In March 2025, Mrs. Trump convened a roundtable discussion of Capitol Hill, bringing together survivors of non-consensual intimate imagery, families, advocates for online protection, and members of Congress to raise awareness about this issue. The president emphasized the importance of the bill in his address to a joint session of Congress the next evening. So Mrs. Trump and the Office of the First Lady continue to engage lawmakers during key stages of the legislative process, including consideration in the House Energy and Commerce Committee and the final passage on the floor of the United States House of Representatives. Today's signing ceremony brought together survivors and families, members of Congress, cabinet officials, and advocates who contributed to the passage of this landmark legislation. So kudos to the President of the United States, those bipartisan leaders in Congress, including Senator Cruz and Senator Klobuchar, and of course, our wonderful First Lady for taking this on very strongly in a incredible bipartisan fashion. But also on the minds of many Americans today, what President Trump did going over to Capitol Hill to solidify and really have a unity rally for the Republican conference, and 20 reasons why Congress must unite behind the one big beautiful bill. Congressional Republicans are seeking to pass President Trump's one big beautiful bill and take advantage of the once-in-a-generation opportunity they were given by voters. This is a mandate, and someone who's been around politics for a long time, I recommend, especially as a Republican, supporting this, because you will be primaried if you do not fight for the American people. You've been given that mandate to save the middle class, and this is going to be a huge test for you. I'm talking to you, Thomas Massey of Kentucky. Better get on board or seek a primary, because it will happen. This delivers the largest tax cut in American history. This means that the extra $5,000 in Americans' pockets with a double-digit decrease to their tax bills. Americans earning between $30,000 and $80,000 will pay around 15% less in taxes. It includes no tax on tips and no tax on overtime. This makes good on two of President Trump's cornerstone campaign promises and will benefit hardworking Americans where they need it the most, their paychecks. This also delivers on the big, beautiful deportations. This bill permanently secures our borders by making the largest border security investment in American history, funding at least $1 million in annual removals of illegal immigrants and wrapping up mass deportations operations to a level never before seen in American history. This finishes President Trump's border wall. And as a result, 701 miles of primary wall, 900 miles of river barriers, 629 miles of secondary barriers, and 141 miles of vehicle and pedestrian barriers that will be constructed. So this stops deadly fentanyl from flowing into the United States and our communities, securing the border from dangerous illegal immigrant murderers and rapists. It boosts the Border Patrol and ICE agents on the front lines. It empowers immigration authorities to carry out their mission by hiring 10,000 new ICE personnel, 5,000 new customs officers, and 3,000 new Border Patrol agents, and gives $10,000 in bonuses in each of the next 4 years to agents on the front lines. Who could be opposed to that? Because that must be the toughest job in the world. Law enforcement in general, but especially on the southern border. It protects Medicaid for Americans by kicking 1.4 million illegals off of the benefits. The bill eliminates waste, fraud, and abuse by ending benefits for at least 1.4 million illegal aliens who are gaming the system. President Trump spoke on this earlier today while visiting Capitol Hill. It requires able-bodied Americans to work if they receive those benefits. With 4.8 million able-bodied adults choosing not to work, the One Big Beautiful Bill puts work requirements in place and supports them as they find dignity through employment. And that's something I've never understood. I've met people who don't work, and I think it's just insane because the devil loves idle hands. It's biblical to do one's due diligence and do one's work in ordinary life because it brings about not only salvation, but also helps other people. We are duty bound to be workers, and I hope you find that fulfillment on a daily basis with what you do in the world. It reverses the spending curse plaguing Washington, D.C. The legislation delivers the largest deficit reduction in nearly 30 years with $1.6 trillion in mandatory savings. It ends taxpayer-funded sex change for minors and reverses the Biden-era mandate that Medicaid covered with the so-called gender transitions and taxpayer-funded chemical castration and mutilation of American children. Maybe we'll see some people, some doctors who exploited these young children go to jail once and for all for their criminal acts. It provides historic tax relief to Social Security recipients and slashes taxes on seniors' Social Security benefits. So many big things as we break this big, beautiful bill down right here on the right side of history. Thank you to Mike Lindell and mypillow.com/RSBN for sponsoring us here at RSBN Live with 50% off the beach sale. It's about summertime, Memorial Day right around the corner, that unofficial launch of the summer season, and we sure do love it down here in the Southeast with, gosh, you could drive to the mountains, you could drive to the oceans. There's plenty of lakes and rivers as well. Always a good day to enjoy with loved ones on the beautiful waters of the United States, especially the new Gulf of America. Call today, don't delay, 800-836-7566. Support Mike Lindell and RSBN by shopping at mypillow.com/RSBN to save with code RSBN. Easy to remember. And as President Trump put it the other week in Warren, Michigan, Mike Lindell is the master marketer, perhaps the best in America. So thank you to Mike Lindell for sponsoring the right side of history. It's a nice beach set there. I think I might grab one myself. So you know how I am. I like to support our sponsors here on the right side of history. Thank you to mypillow.com/RSBN. As this big, beautiful bill is a win-win-win for the American people, as House leadership and Senate leadership, in conjunction with the President of the United States, continues to fight for much needed tax reform. This bill will give Americans permanent tax relief through the Trump tax cuts. If the bill does not pass, Americans will see the largest tax increase in American history. It finally modernizes air traffic control, fulfilling President Trump's plan to completely overhaul the systems that keep Americans flying safely and efficiently. This will allow President Trump to update our air traffic control systems and act where the Biden administration failed, despite all of the warnings, especially from the DEI hire himself, Pete Buttigieg. I hope that loser stays out of government. And he wants to be president of the United States. Can you believe that? He couldn't even be mayor of South Bend, Indiana, let alone run our transportation in the United States. It ends the taxpayer-funded Green New Scam. The legislation repeals or phases out every green corporate welfare subsidy in Democrats' so-called Inflation Reduction Act. Immediately stops credits from flowing to China and saves taxpayers $500 billion a year on average, reversing electric vehicle mandates that let radical climate activists set the standards for American energy. And how curious has it been how conservatives are defending Tesla because they believe in freedom of choice, freedom of speech, as Elon Musk does. And now the green crazies out there will go and kick a Tesla or two because they don't believe in private property. That's what it really boils down to. And I've seen it on the campaign trail myself. Gosh, I mean, even running for office, sometimes people kicking down signs or taking them out of people's yards. I would never do that, even if I disagreed with why it was up in the first place. I believe too much in the First Amendment. And that's great to have constitutional governance brought back to the United States of America instead of this post-constitutional globalist agenda that the Autopen tried to usher in with his cronies. This incentivizes this bill made in America. It rewards companies that build their products in the United States with lower taxes and allows Americans to buy an American-made vehicle to fully deduct their auto loan interest. So talk about a great incentive and something where private and public entities can come together in order to benefit you, the American consumer. It's pro-family. The one big, beautiful bill increases the child tax credit, establishes MAGA accounts, and for newborns starts saving and strengthening paid family leave. And remember that guy who was doing all that far left stuff during the Obama administration? He talked about this, the fact that Republicans stole Democrat playbooks going back to the first Trump administration with paid family leave, with the work that Ivanka Trump did on this. I can remember visiting the White House. She was actually sitting with Lisa Murkowski at the time, who has been a huge critic of President Trump. But even then, they could find common ground to make sure something like this is pro-family for the American worker, for the American family. We are actually decreasing in birth rates in this country with an average of 1.62 children per family. Really, to sustain the largeness of this country and to fulfill all industries, especially this emerging AI industry and technologies, we need people to be having at least 2.1 or above on average of children. So hopefully something like this can keep these pro-family initiatives going, because I've talked to Paul Stone about it, who runs the Colonial Metals Group, about how we need these great policies to come about to be pro-family so that people will do just that, have families, buy homes, and live that elusive American dream. This repeals Democrats' insane attack on the gig economy. It repeals the requirement that Venmo, PayPal, and other gig transactions over $600 to be reported to the IRS. Enough with Big Brother. It is B to the S every single day. It's none of their business where you put your money. And this ensures that that's protected, especially on low-level transactions. It protects family farmers. The bill prevents the greedy death tax from hitting 2 million family-owned farms in the United States who would otherwise see their exemptions cut in half and cut taxes on farmers by over $10 billion. It's once-in-a-generation chance to revolutionize our nation's defense capabilities and protect the homeland against new threats. It funds President Trump's Golden Dome, invests in American shipbuilding, and modernizes our military. This unleashes American energy dominance. The legislation increases onshore and offshore oil and gas leases, which provide certainty for energy producers, spurs job growth, and makes energy more affordable for the American consumer. And finally, and not that it's the least important, but number 20 on this great list of the big, beautiful bill, it boosts American mineral development. Crucial for the United States. This bill increases mining of domestic minerals and makes America less dependent on foreign adversaries for critical minerals. So much of what President Trump has done in 100 plus days with his incredible cabinet is get rid of the dependence on the Chinese Communist Party, who mine the floor of our beautiful Pacific Ocean in order to create these batteries for green new scams that cannot be recycled or take forever to be recycled or are used with lithium. So if, God forbid, they catch fire, can burn, and are hard to put out. But instead, we have minerals in things like this that you carry around, your cell phone, and other computer materials and things we use on a daily basis. So part of the deals with the Ukraine that President Trump brokered in its totality and finality, going back to Pope Francis's funeral at the Vatican, if you remember the Catholic Church being great hosts, bringing those two chairs together for President Trump and President Zelensky of the Ukraine to just hammer it out and get that done, in turn ending this awful war that took place by Vladimir Putin's invasion of the Ukraine. But those minerals coming to the United States because it's owed for the $360 billion plus that was sent over by the United States to the Ukraine. And this is even, I'll criticize Republicans about this too. Former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, do you remember him wearing just the Ukrainian pin right here? How ridiculous was that? No person elected into office in the United States should expel a United States pin for the flag of another country or their insignia. It's like, who do you work for? Who elected you in the first place? And I like Kevin. He's a good man. He's a smart, sharp cookie. But we've had a much better replacement in House Speaker Mike Johnson, who has the full faith, support, and commitment coming from the White House. And President Trump saying, I don't think anyone else could do the job better. Louisiana loves him. The United States loves him. The House of Representatives loves him. It's Mike Johnson, a great man of God, a great leader, who was selected for such a time as this. Someone I think who never necessarily wanted to ascend to the House Speaker role, but God had other plans, and he is doing a phenomenal job with that. Also with the Saudi Arabian agreement, with our military and AI and technological agreements bringing $600 billion into the United States and countless thousands of jobs in those new arenas of technology, AI, military, industrial, and manufacturing. This is also included great minerals coming from the Middle East to the United States. So this is a huge part of the one big, beautiful bill. And Secretary Duffy from Transportation also stating how important it was to get this done, this new air traffic control agenda to save traveling in the United States, something that was ignored by the past administration, things that have been outdated for countless years, in some cases going back 25 years. And all I could say is, as you look at this in a fair way, not even on an ideological basis, why did Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, Barack Hussein Obama, and the auto pen allow things to get so bad with $36 trillion in debt, with kicking the can down the road, with being obligated to, I guess, give their oligarchs all the attention they needed, those people that donated vast amounts of money to get them into office. Maybe that's who they were focused on serving, but President Trump focused on serving you. And that's why I like to remind my friends on the left side of history, President Trump takes $1 every quarter. He legally takes that $1, and he joked around that if he did not, maybe Congress would investigate him for that, just as they did with the fake impeachments. But he takes that $1, donates everything else to those who are in need, and saved a huge section of hallowed ground at the Gettysburg Memorial for you, the American people, for those souls who fought so valiantly on both sides, Americans who perished. And if you are a fan of that great movie, Remember the Titans, from roughly 25 years ago, when you ever feel divided with your brother, when you ever feel divided with a teammate, remember a situation like that. And Coach Boone, played by Denzel Washington, they went on that jog. It was actually filmed at Gettysburg College. And I remember the assistant coach saying, this is not the Marine Corps, coach, it's a high school football team. But he was instilling discipline. He was instilling that reality, to not turn in malice toward one another, but rather to work together, to dialogue and discuss these issues. And as Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Secretary Pete Hegseth, who you'll see momentarily as we near the 4 o'clock hour on the East Coast in Washington, D.C., this president is all about dialogue. He's all about peace through strength. And even that goofball, Bill Maher, who is very funny and has a great show in and of itself, but has always been on the left side of history, said, take it for what it's worth. But President Trump actually cares about what you have to think about, what you have to say, and is willing to dine over these differences and will ask you point blank, what do you think about that? Kind of cool to have a commander-in-chief who cares so deeply about what you think on each and every issue as we approach the 4 o'clock hour on the East Coast. It's 1 o'clock on the West Coast, and it's a beautiful 3 o'clock here in Auburn, Alabama, the loveliest village on the plains, home of the Auburn Tigers and the right side of history. RSBN Live. I'm Robert McNeely. If you're just joining us, we're awaiting President Trump and Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth to make a major announcement on national security. And the Secretary actually stating earlier today from the Pentagon, a DoD review on the United States military withdrawal from Afghanistan. According to Secretary Hegseth, 3.5 years ago, the Biden administration disastrous and embarrassing withdrawal from Afghanistan led to the deaths of 13 U.S. service members and 100 civilians in a suicide bombing of the Kabul International Airport's Abbey Gate. And we remember how terrible that day was. So many young people losing their lives, many of them in their 20s, as we're getting a live look now from just outside the Oval Office and off of the Rose Garden, where you saw the signing of the historic Take It Down Act just yesterday. President Trump promised accountability for what transpired during the military withdrawal, and I am committed to delivering on that promise. We have an obligation to the American people and to the war fighters who fought in Afghanistan to get the truth, and we will, according to Secretary Hegseth. Today, I am directing the Assistant of the Secretary of Defense for Public Affairs, Sean Parnell, to convene a special review panel for the department into the United States military withdrawal from Afghanistan. Sean Parnell spent 485 days serving in Afghanistan. You may remember him. You may remember his very handsome face. He's been on this show countless times, especially during the campaign, with yours truly and my wonderful colleague, Matthew Alvarez, committed to getting all of that military commentary out to you and how they truly felt about the last 4 years under Autopen. But Sean was wounded in action along with 85% of his platoon and lost countless friends to the war on terror. It is fitting that he will lead the effort to re-examine previous Abbey Gate investigations conducted by U.S. Central Command during the Autopen administration. In addition, Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Scheller, a combat-decorated Marine officer who spoke out about the Afghanistan withdrawal, and Jerry Dunleavy, an author, journalist, and investigator who helped lead the House Foreign Affairs Committee into the special review panel, will take the lead on this. Sean and his team will look at the facts, examine sources, interview witnesses, analyze the decision-making process, and the post-mortem, the chains of events that led to one of America's darkest moments. Sean and his team will provide updates at appropriate times to keep the American people informed of the findings and any directed actions resulting for the review there. And now there's a live look of the Oval Office. President Trump's Secretary Hegseth, as we come together, we'll toss that there now live for you to see this very important announcement.
Thank you very much, and thank you for being here in the Oval Office, one of the great places of the world, as we make a historic announcement about the Golden Dome Missile Defense Shield. That's something we want, and Ronald Reagan wanted it many years ago, but they didn't have the technology, but it's something we're going to have. We're going to have it at the highest level. I want to thank Secretary Hegseth, who's been fantastic, and Secretary Rubio, and Space Force Vice Chief of Space Operations, General Mike Gutlein. I also want to recognize Senators Dan Sullivan, Kevin Cramer, and Jim Banks, fantastic senators, great talents, great political talents, and people that love our country. In the campaign, I promised the American people that I would build a cutting-edge missile defense shield to protect our homeland from the threat of foreign missile attack.
And that's what we're doing. Today I'm pleased to announce that we have officially selected an architecture for this state-of-the-art system that will deploy next-generation technologies across the land, sea, and space, including space-based sensors and interceptors. And Canada has called us, and they want to be a part of it. So we'll be talking to them. They want to have protection also. So as usual, we help Canada do the best we can. This design for the Golden Dome will integrate with our existing defense capabilities and should be fully operational before the end of my term. So we'll have it done in about 3 years. Once fully constructed, the Golden Dome will be capable of intercepting missiles even if they are launched from other sides of the world and even if they are launched from space. And we will have the best system ever built. As you know, we helped Israel with theirs, and it was very successful, and now we have technology that's even far advanced from that, but including hypersonic missiles, ballistic missiles, and advanced cruise missiles. All of them will be knocked out of the air. We will truly be completing the job that President Reagan started 40 years ago, forever ending the missile threat to the American homeland, and the success rate is very close to 100%, which is incredible when you think of it. You're shooting bullets out of the air. I'm also pleased to report that the one big, beautiful bill will include $25 billion for the Golden Dome to help construction get underway. That's the initial sort of a down deposit. And we have probably, you're talking about, General, we're talking about $175 billion total cost of this when it's completed. This afternoon, I'm also announcing that I will appoint, very importantly, General Gutlein to lead the ambitious new effort as the direct reporting program manager for the Golden Dome. A very talented man, and I'm very honored to have been the one that helped to have really created Space Force. Space Force has turned out to be a tremendous success. We were third in space, and now we're number one in space by a lot. It's not even close. And Mike is a 4-star Space Force general, the recipient of the Defense Distinguished Service Medal, one of the most respected people in the world having to do with defense. You know, we have offense and we have defense. I'll bet he's good at offense, too. And he has an unmatched background in missile warning technology and defense procurement. General Gutlein also knows that we need to move fast. No one is more qualified for his job, and everybody, this was a universal acceptance of General Gutlein. Everybody that knows him and knows everybody else, they said there's only one man for the job, so I have a feeling we have the right guy. But now I'd like to invite Secretary Hegseth and the General to please say a few words and describe the system a little bit. And we appreciate you being here. And the press has really been very fair over the last period of a couple of months. I don't know what happened to you. It was so much more exciting the other way. But you've been very, very fair. We have very high poll numbers, the highest we've ever had. And I think we're doing a great job. We had a tremendous trip to the Middle East, as you know. It was a really amazing trip. And now I came home, and this is the one I was really looking forward to this day, because this is very important for the success and even survival of our country. It's a pretty evil world out there, so this is something that goes a long way toward the survival of this great country. And as I said, we'll be discussing Canada. They want to hook in, and they want to see if they can be a part of it. That sort of makes sense. I guess that's what I was talking about from day one. You know, it just automatically makes sense, and it won't be very difficult to do, but they'll pay their fair share. Thank you very much, everybody. And Pete, go ahead.
Sure. Well, Mr. President, add this to the long and growing list of promises made and promises kept. Ultimately, this right here, the Golden Dome for America, is a game changer. It's a generational investment in the security of America and Americans. Mr. President, you said we're going to secure our southern border and get 100% operational control after the previous administration allowed an invasion of people into our country. President Reagan 40 years ago cast the vision for it. The technology wasn't there. Now it is, and you're following through to say we will protect the homeland from cruise missiles, ballistic missiles, hypersonic missiles, drones, whether they're conventional or nuclear. It's not lost on me, sir, also that you had the vision to start the Space Force, and here we are when others said we didn't need it. Here we are in the Oval Office with one of the leaders of the Space Force in General Gutlein, leading the charge on putting in place a game-changing Golden Dome for America. So, sir, it's an honor to be a part of this bold initiative. We're going to get to work on it. We have been since you signed that executive order on January 27th. We've been fast forward on this. We're here on this day, and this is just one stop in delivering this defense of the homeland, which is something you've charged us with doing, and we'll keep going until it is complete, sir.
Thank you, Pete. Pete's doing a great job, by the way. Thank you very much. General, please.
Mr. President, today is a great day for the nation as we double down on protection of the homeland. As you're aware, our adversaries have become very capable and very intent on holding the homeland at risk. While we have been focused on keeping the peace overseas, our adversaries have been quickly modernizing their nuclear forces, building out ballistic missiles capable of hosting multiple warheads, building out hypersonic missiles capable of attacking the United States within an hour and traveling at 6,000 miles an hour, building cruise missiles that can navigate around our radar and our defenses, building submarines that can sneak up on our shores, and worse yet, building space weapons. It is time that we change that equation and start doubling down on the protection of the homeland. Golden Dome is a bold and aggressive approach to hurry up and protect the homeland from our adversaries. We owe it to our children and our children's children to protect them and afford them a quality of life that we have all grown up enjoying. Golden Dome will afford that. I greatly appreciate your trust in me and your nomination in me and your trust in the team to deliver this. It is a great day for America.
And also, very importantly, it's we're the only ones that have this. We call it super technology. Nobody else has it. And nobody else has really near what we have. So this is a very exciting project. This is something that will, when the general said close to 100% protection, so that's something we need. I think it's a very, and everything's going to be made in the USA, by the way, very importantly. So it's something that I've been looking forward to for a long time. And I just noticed you two, Jim, you're standing there, and behind you is a very important document, Declaration of Independence. And that was in the vault for many decades right under this area. They have vaults with pictures on top. You have Abraham Lincoln. You see that was the original Abraham Lincoln, the original Washington. And does everybody know who the middle was? General Grant. And so it's very exciting. You look over here, and above Ronald Reagan, you have Thomas Jefferson. That's Monroe from the Monroe document. And you know who that is, right? Andrew Jackson. So we have a lot of very exciting pictures, and on the other side, likewise, some great presidents and great people. And many of these, because people were asking about them, many of them, almost all of them, were in the vaults or nearby, but generally in the vaults downstairs, where we have some great. So it's very exciting, and the place has become a little different than you first saw it, Jim, right?
Yes, much
better. A little bit different, and slightly better. But to think we had them, and some were in the vaults for over 100 years. So it's pretty cool stuff. Everybody knows Jim Banks. He's a great congressman, and now he's a great senator from Indiana. And you might want to say a few words, Jim.
Well, your legacy with Space Force, Mr. President, is already big, but the Golden Dome is going to be an even bigger legacy for our country. And Indiana is going to help you make it.
Right.
The space satellites that are made in Fort Wayne, Indiana by L3 Harris, all the work done at Crane Navy Base in southern Indiana is going to be a big part of it. And Hoosiers are very proud of that. We're proud of you. Thank you very much.
You're going to be a big factor. Thank you, and good luck, and congratulations. You won that race by a lot.
Thanks to you.
That wasn't even a contest, right?
Well, thank you. Thanks to you and all of your support.
Thank you very much. Thanks. Please go ahead. You missed that. This is Senator Kramer. He's one of our best. Can't get any better. Go ahead.
Well, you're very nice, Mr. President, and thanks for this. And I remember the day in your first term when you called, and I was a brand new baby freshman senator on the Armed Services Committee, and you said, I want to have a Space Force. Would you lead the effort on the Senate Armed Services Committee? And I felt so proud thinking that you chose me, only to find out later no one else would do it. But nonetheless, it worked out really, really, really well because North Dakota has some great space assets, and that contribute to that and to Golden Dome. No surprise that you would be the president that would come along and put the homeland first. And this is just one more example of that. So thanks for this and for allowing me this afternoon. By the way, let me just add my strong endorsement of General Guttlein's role in leading this. I don't know anybody better, for sure, better equipped to do it than he is.
Everybody said that.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Dan Sullivan, Alaska Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you for your continued leadership on missile defense. We were talking earlier how in 2019 at the Pentagon, you laid out a speech about the Missile Defense Review that had all these principles on missile defense you articulated then during your first term, and now the Golden Dome is all of that. So you're continuing to lead. We really appreciate it. The Congress is stepping up, as you mentioned right now in the budget reconciliation bill, $25 billion for the Golden Dome. And what Senator Kramer and Senator Banks and I and many others, we're working on our, and I briefed you on this before, sir, on our Golden Dome Act, which we think will have, in terms of legislation that can help cement what you're doing right here, getting the Congress behind it, not just with the funding, but with authorizations. So we're working closely with Secretary Hegseth, General Gutlein, and the whole team. So we're very honored to be here, sir. And, Alaska is the cornerstone of missile defense right now in terms of ground-based missile interceptors, in terms of radar systems that track incoming missiles. So my state is honored to continue to play a critical role in all of this and build on it. And we're really excited to be here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dan. Great. Any questions?
Mr. President, you had mentioned at the beginning of your remarks that this was a campaign promise of yours. Have military commanders asked for this system specifically? Because NORAD had said previously that the current system was adequate. So what does this get the United States
Somebody
that
said the
isn't
current
already
system is adequate. There really is no current system. We have certain areas of missiles and certain missile defense, but there's no system. We just have some very capable weapons that hopefully we never have to use, but we have some very capable weapons. Now, this is a different league. There's never been anything like this. This is something that's going to be very protective. I think you can rest assured there'll be nothing like this. Nobody else is capable of building it either.
Was it something that military commanders asked you for? Did they ask you to do this?
Well, let me put it differently. I suggested it, and they all said, "We love the idea, sir." It's the way it's got to be, right? But they want it, and they wanted it badly once it was suggested. I don't know if they ever thought they would be lucky enough to have it, but we were able to get it done, and we have all the funding. It's all pretty much tucked away. I think most people feel it's very important to have. Yeah, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. When you first announced this idea, critics said it would be prohibitively expensive, potentially ineffective, and could trigger an arms race in space. What do you say to those critics about that?
Well, they're wrong. It's about as close to perfect as you can have in terms of real production. I told you Canada wants to be a part of it, which be, fairly small expansion, but we'll work with them on pricing. We'll be dealing with them on pricing. They know about it very much. They've asked to be a part of it, actually. They've asked us to be a part of it. I think it's something that is great. If you can afford to do it, we can afford to do it. We took in $5.1 trillion in the last 4 days in the Middle East. And when you think about it, this is a tiny fraction of that. But we make it all here. We're going to make it all here. We have, I will tell you, an adversary told me, a very big adversary told me the most brilliant people in the world are Silicon Valley. He said, we cannot duplicate him. We can't. This was somebody that I won't tell you who it is, but you'd be amazed. We have the most brilliant minds in the world doing this kind of thing, the equipment, the space, the computers, everything. But I said that we just can't duplicate what you have there in Silicon Valley. We never have been able to, and there's a very strong group of people and very strong minds, but they can't. So we have things that nobody else can have. You see what we've done helping Israel with that. You probably wouldn't have in Israel. They launched probably 500 missiles altogether, and I think 1/2 of a missile got through, and that was only falling to the ground as scrap metal. It's pretty amazing, and this is in terms of technology far advanced from that system.
And just one follow-up on the adversaries. Have you addressed Russia's ventures in space with a space-based nuclear weapon and told Putin to stop in your conversations with him?
We haven't discussed it, but at the right time we will. Yeah.
Mr. President, with the goal of keeping Americans safe with this, can you talk about the timeline? How long will this take to complete?
We think it's going to be about a little bit less than 3 years, and we'll have a big phase-in very early. We're starting immediately with $25 billion. It'll cost about $175 billion completed, but we think in 2.5 to 3 years.
Are you confident confident that you can get the funding needed from Congress quickly?
Yeah. It's amazing how easy this one is to fund. You know, some funding is tough and some is easy. When we say we're going to save everyone's lives in a crazy world, it seems to be very easy to get. Yeah, we've already spoken to everybody that we have to speak to. Everybody's in, I would say, Dan, everybody's in line here, right?
Yes, sir. $25 billion is a down payment in the budget reconciliation bill right now.
Yeah. So I think
Mr. President, on Russia,
people actually love it.
Mr. President, on Russia, are you worried about the reports on a military buildup along the borders towards Finland and Norway?
No, I don't worry about that at all. They're going to be very safe. Those are two countries that are going to be very safe.
And the secondly, sir, if I may, Volodymyr Zelensky is saying today that he's hoping for you to impose new sanctions on Russia. Are you considering that?
Well, that's going to be my determination. That's going to be nobody else's determination. We'll see how Russia behaves. We see what's going to happen. You know, we have a pretty critical time right now. I had a talk yesterday for 2.5 hours with President Putin, as you know. I also spoke to all of the European, or to many of them, leaders, but they were representing the whole. And I think we had very good conversations yesterday. Please.
Thanks, Mr. President. What companies have asked to be involved in building this system, and have you decided on who will be building it?
Yeah, I think I'll let you answer that. You can mention some of yours from Alaska's involved, and Alaska's a big part of it because locationally they're sort of perfect. I think it's your first line of defense in certain instances. And Kevin will tell you that his state's involved. But honestly, Georgia's going to be very big. Florida's going to be very big. They're all going to be very big. Jim, do you want to talk about Indiana?
Yeah, in Fort Wayne, Indiana, where I live, we make all the space satellites at L3 Harris. Across the board, we're the top manufacturing state in the country. By the way, the tariffs have been very good for auto manufacturing in Indiana.
They've been so good.
But this is going to be really good for the defense industry in my state. There's so much money involved here. There are going to be a lot of American companies involved in making the Golden Dome.
You might also say, you're talking about the tariffs, he has some of the biggest auto plants in the world moving into Indiana only for one reason, maybe two reasons, November 5th and the tariffs, okay?
Yes, sir.
But the tariffs have driven tremendous business into this country. But you have one of the biggest in the world being built.
The Honda Civics,
right?
The new Honda Civic made in Indiana. GM has added jobs. Eli Lilly moving pharmaceutical manufacturing from China to the United States, $27 billion. You go on and on with good news in Indiana and across the country because of the tariffs.
Our country was cold as ice a year ago, and now we have the hottest country in the world. This is the hottest country in the world, nobody even close. If you look at even this last trip that I made, the respect that is paid to our country. We've went from being laughed at all over the world, and now we're the hottest country in the world by far. Dan, go ahead, please.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. I think when you look at the system that you've laid out, it's an idea in your executive order of a layered defense. So you have initial ground-based missile interceptors, which are made by some of the big defense companies, Lockheed, Martin, Raytheon. But the beauty of your vision, Mr. President, is that it's layered, it's open architecture, and it goes up into space. So this is going to be some of the new defense tech companies that are very interested in it and can bring missile defense at a cost that I don't think, you said it, Mr. President, is unimaginable in terms of how much lower the cost is. So it's all across the board in terms of companies. Senator Kramer and I just met with a bunch of them last week that are interested in this. And you said it earlier, Mr. President, our technology sector is head and shoulders above any other place in the world, and they're going to be a key part of this, and I think that's why it makes it so exciting.
Mr. President, I think one of the things and you alluded to this, the new autonomous space age defense ecosystem is more about Silicon Valley than it is about big metal, right? And so what's exciting about this is it makes it available to everybody to participate, to compete. Big companies, mid-sized companies, small companies, but General Gutlein is the perfect person, again, to sort all that out because he understands how it has to work together ultimately.
And Pete, maybe we'll close with you. We've been discussing this for a long time. Pete and I used to discuss it when I was going to go on a show that he did very well and had tremendous ratings, but all he wanted to talk about was the military. He didn't want to talk about anything else. We used to talk about this. How about you closing it out?
Yes, sir. I mean, like I said, without your vision willing to say and do things when other people wanted to look away and pretend like the threat didn't exist, or be focused on foreign adventurism and some other threat that we've been told is affecting us. When you looked at the data, sir, from Russia to the Communist Chinese and their capabilities, what they're trying to do to supersede us and threaten us, how do we find the best innovators, the best military leaders, the best companies, tech companies? You mentioned open architecture. That's exactly right. So multiple companies can pour into this, sir. It's a layered defense. So if you miss at one, you catch at the next. And it integrates existing technologies that can speak to each other. So it moves quickly while also investing in further ranging space-based interceptors. So our enemies, our adversaries, are going to pay a lot of attention to this, just like they have to President Trump from day one. So you're defending the homeland, defending the American people. It's going to benefit my kids and grandkids, all of ours in this room. So thank you for your leadership, and we're going to charge ahead as fast as we can.
Very good. Great job, everybody. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Elon Musk be a part of this, Mr. President? Thank you, President.
No cuts. No cuts to Medicaid. No cuts to Medicaid. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
And President Trump announcing, along with Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth and Senators Banks, Kramer, and Sullivan, this major announcement for the Golden Dome. This was a vision of President Ronald Reagan's roughly 40 years ago, but now the technology exists for it. And thank God President Trump in office, in conjunction with our outstanding military, a golden era for a Golden Dome. And I love each and every day looking into that Oval Office with new accessories. I think Benjamin Franklin's bust now one of the newer ones right next to the Resolute desk. Thank you to our sponsors. On the right side of history, Colonial Metals Group. Paul Stone, the CEO, would like you to scan that QR code now. Shield your savings today. Because if you go to freegoldguy.com/RSBN, it details with no obligation just how gold and silver can become part of your portfolio, whether it's properties, assets, a 401k, or IRA, all good, but tangible metals like gold and silver can make all the difference and be your best bet against inflation. And with the Chinese Communist Party and their antics, the war games against Taiwan, trying to buy up prime farmland and properties in the United States, especially around our military bases, what does that mean for you and your wallet? Gold has gone up 7,000% since the year 1971, 50 years ago, and continues just to go up, up, up. There's no downward spiral. And with all this printed money and inflation, $36 trillion in debt, gold and silver are your best option. You have patriots like Judge Jeanine Pirro who love this organization. We do here on the right side of history as well. So Colonial Metals Group, thank you for sponsoring us on the right side of history. And once your economics are in line and you have all those beautiful savings, let's take care of your health. President Trump recently signed a powerful executive order to lower prescription drug prices across the country, a major step to the fight for affordable health care. But while the system drags its feet, one pharmacy is not waiting, and that's All Family Pharmacy. And you can find their work at allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN, where they are stepping up to support the vision that puts control back into the hands of the American people with a summer sale now running through the end of June. Right now, you can get 20% off everything state or site-wide. No insurance needed. This company works hand in hand with you, with licensed doctors in all 50 states, and your prescriptions are shipped fast and directly to your door. Whether it's ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, methylene blue, antibiotics, emergency medical kits, and over 200 essential medications, now is the time to stock up. If you believe in medical freedom and being prepared for what's ahead, this is the pharmacy for you. Head over to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Use code RSBN20, 20% off your entire order. That's allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Take control of your health today, and let's make America great again. And most of all, make America healthy again. Thank you to All Family Pharmacy. Get All America First updates and exclusive offers at rsbnetwork.com/newsletter. And if you wish to opine, feedback at rsbn.tv. Feedback at rsbn.tv. All of the good, the bad, the ugly. Tell us what you think. Tell us what's going on in your neck of the woods. We want to be your advocates here as your go-to live desk. And if you like what you see, and if you can afford it, please feel free to donate by texting RSBN to 801-801 or visiting rsbnetwork.com/donate. Again, your go-to live desk for President Trump, Vice President Vance, our First Lady, our Second Lady, their families, and the 119th Congress and your Supreme Court. All three branches of government in the federal city. We're covering everything inside and outside of the Beltway as you get that live look there of the White House, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, which has had so much success this week, coming off the heels of a great foreign trip to Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Qatar. President Trump working to make America great again. Thank you for tuning in for great live coverage today, whether it be this morning or even in this afternoon. Unless there's any breaking news, we'll be back with you tomorrow here at RSBN Live. And for all of my colleagues, I'm Robert McNeely. Always a joy to be with you. Have a wonderful afternoon. Goodbye. God bless. We'll see you tomorrow.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live Show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
To celebrate our newest launch, Rev 7, I'm bringing you an amazing introductory offer, plus an exclusive overstock sale that you're not going to want to miss. Rev 7 is our premium energy drink that tastes great and gives you energy all day with no jitters and no crashes. That's because there's no sugar and no caffeine. I'm so sure you're going to love Rev 7 that for a limited time you can try our 3-pack absolutely free. Or check out our Percale bed sheets. I can't believe I'm even going to say this. Every color, every style, every size, only $29.88. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% on our Rev 7 12-packs or try our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. And our Percale bed sheets, all sizes only $29.88, even the queens and kings. Inventory is extremely limited, so order now.